This is what happens when your LinkedIn headline no longer matters. When you are sobbing in the shower of your very expensive New York City apartment, everyone thinks your life is phenomenal, and you're thinking, how can I self-exit out of this life? This is a funeral for the version of yourself that you spent the last 15, 20, 50 years pretending to be. So sit down, hun. Get a cold brew. This is Rebirth After Burnout.
It's been a long time and I miss this feeling. It feels like freedom, it feels like healing. And if you're going through it, this too shall pass.
Let's get something straight right off the rip. What this podcast isn't: a productivity workbook, a toxic positivity incubator. This is not a holier-than-thou self-redemption arc. This podcast is for people who have completely lost their sense of self because it was always tied directly to output, to production, to working faster, harder, smarter than anyone and everyone else. I will definitely not tell you to go drink some moon water and howl at the moon to manifest your dream life. Manifestation, yes, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. But we're not just gonna skip over the part where you're unraveling on the street. Now, let's start with my breakdown. My breakdown wasn't cinematic. It was extremely clinical. It was not cute. It was not demure. It included psychiatric wards. It included complete meltdowns in the middle of the streets in New York City, a complete unraveling of my entire life with no backup plan, no backup job, and a closet full of clothes that I couldn't even bear to look at anymore because I didn't know who used to wear them. You know the ones I'm talking about, the power suits, the blazers, the I'm so put together, look how polished I am when you go home and cry in your shower. From the outside, I had it all, right? I had the titles, I had the money, I had the apartment in New York City, I had the dream life that I curated in my head when I was 12. And for some reason, that wasn't enough for me. And no matter what I did, no matter who I talked to, the therapy, the antidepressants, more bonuses, more money, nothing mattered to me. It didn't matter. That is the breakdown. You are not tired. You are not exhausted. The problem is that you are not aligning yourself to what you are actually supposed to be doing. You are auditioning for a role that you never even wanted. And when I found myself on the ground in New York City in an intersection with people stepping over me during a panic attack, that's when I kind of took a step back, and I would urge you to do the same. Ask yourself, am I actually living the life that I think I want to live? Or am I checking the boxes that I've been told to check off? And still, I smiled. I performed, because that's what I've always done. You show up, you push through, and you perform. And when you get the applause, that feels so damn good that it doesn't matter that your body is literally falling apart. My burnout didn't show up in one big moment. It was not one epic collapse. It came in the form of migraines, insomnia, ulcers, fissures, panic attacks in the middle of the street. You will know when the burnout happens, but the purpose of this podcast is to help you understand when is the time to stop. I don't want anyone else to get to the point that I was at. I want to help. And I've been there. I want to make sure that other people that are like me, that have been raised the same way, that always go on to perform, outperform, constantly perform, you have a safe space here. It's okay to let the walls down, and it's okay to say that you're not okay. And this podcast, Rebirth After Burnout, is meant to help you pause. Slowing down does not mean you're weak. Slowing down means that you respect yourself, you respect your body, enough to listen. We are all moving so quickly, we don't take a second to listen to our bodies, our nervous systems. And with one traumatic event after the other, your body just becomes an empty shell, dealing with the blows as they come. You can no longer dream big because you are still recovering from all the trauma that happened to you in the past. I didn't collapse because it got hard. I collapsed because I didn't know how to stop. And once you stop, your body starts to show you all of the pain that you put it through. I came from a long lineage of just push through. My father, constant, stoic. He would have a stroke one day and be right back to yard work the next day. Car accident, straight to work. My mother, wish I could say something differently, but she's the same. She has rheumatoid arthritis. She has broken every single bone in her foot, now all replaced with pins, and still she beautifully and elegantly walks through life. No complaints, no tears, no rest. So yeah, needless to say, early on, I learned that pain doesn't get a podium. You go on, you push through, you perform, you show up, and it's thankless. Then came 2010, senior year, college, Valentine's Day, about to go to Cancun for my spring break. While Snooki, if you know, from Jersey Shore, was getting punched in the face on TV, I was getting punched in the face in Philadelphia. He left me with a broken jaw, abrasions all over my body, and a bruised spine. And you would think after that amount of trauma that I would at least take a week, go talk to a therapist, maybe take a nap. A nap would be nice, or just get a hug. But no, what I did after I got home from the hospital, I went straight to class. After class, I went straight to work. Then I took a little nap. Next morning, I go to New York City for my internship. I go back to work, I go back to class, and I end the next day at my fraternity's social gathering. So no, I did not take a rest. I did not reflect on what just happened to me. I buried it so far down in my soul that I thought it wasn't going to come back up. Flash forward 15 years later, it came back. When survival is your default setting, you don't pause. You just keep going. Doesn't matter how tired you are, how exhausted you are. Everyone thinks you're fine because you look fine and you pretend you're fine. So if you're telling everyone you're great, you're great. And finally, it starts to convince yourself that you actually are fine. And that's when the true struggle begins between your soul and your body. Your soul knows you're not fine. Things are not going well internally. Your body is trying to just keep things going, keep the engine running, as they say. But finally, when that epic unraveling happens, because every single amount of trauma that you've buried all just regurgitates and bubbles out of you, that's when you're going to recognize that you waited a little too long to press pause. I just kept layering trauma after trauma after trauma after job after job until one day I just couldn't take it because I was holding things that I was never meant to hold. And I bet if you're watching this, that might resonate with you. My nervous system was setting off alarm bells. My nervous system was screaming from the rooftops to please stop. Just stop, sit down, take a breath, take a nap, catch up on sleep. Eat, maybe. Drink some water, hydrate a little bit. I was racking up the praise at work when I was literally plotting my Irish exit from this planet. That's the worst part. You look fine. Everyone thinks you're fine. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't actively talk about emotions, that doesn't actively talk about feelings or trauma, you're fine. Everything's fine. You're the strong one. I bet you're the kid that your parents said they never had to worry about. You're the kid that holds the entire family together. And when it comes time for someone to hold you together, nobody's there. It's just on you. You are going to be your only support system if you approach yourself in the right way. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to give yourself grace. And if you've been through some shit, you got to take the time to reflect and to heal. And I know that sounds cliche. I used to think that was nonsense as well. But the moment that I was finally able to stop and sit in my own stillness and silence, that's when the true healing starts. That's when the rebirth starts. You start to hear all of the pain that has been circulating in your nervous system. You start to feel all of the aches and pains in your body. And that's when the universe gets real loud. Enter a cult. Yes, a real cult. NXIVM. Yeah, that NXIVM. The one with criminal enterprise connections. The one with sex trafficking. The one with body branding of the founder's initials on private parts. The one with a founder who's in jail for 120 years. That cult. That cult had put its entire hooks into me. I was recruited by a boutique advertising agency. They promised me the world. They had paraded me around as the face of the agency, all with the mission of spreading joy. The only problem was I had not experienced 1 ounce of joy while working there. The co-founders and the VP of HR all had ties to Nexium. And honestly, as I was finally coming to terms, I resigned. And while I was actively resigning, they tried to recruit me into executive success programs while I was resigning.
I would like to figure out a way that we can move forward with a separation agreement that is mutual and amicable.
I do want to offer, if you want to talk through my experience with executive success and how the company started, I think there might be a different story. I'm not going to change your mind on anything, but just, if you want to hear from the horse's mouth, I'd be happy to. If you're not interested, I don't want to force it on you. So, but I do want to make sure you have that invitation.
They sold empowerment, but trafficked exploitation. They promised equity, but demanded non-disclosure agreements. They told me I was a star while siphoning off every ounce of lifeblood that I had left. And honestly, at that point, there was almost nothing left. When I found out that the leadership team of this agency that I had just abandoned a fabulous job for were all connected to Keith Raniere, my entire world imploded. Leaving wasn't some Instagrammable, LinkedIn post-worthy situation for me. Leaving was messy and embarrassing and lonely, really, really lonely. You built up this entire life, a friend group that you think are your ride or dies. And with a split-second decision, you leave it all in favor of aligning yourself with the life path that you think you are supposed to be on based on what has not been working historically. For me, it was working for people who morally, ethically do not align with myself. Are you willing to put yourself up with your founder and say, I stand by this person. I stand by what they are doing. I stand by what they work for, what they stand for, who they are. And if your answer is no, if your answer is, I don't know, man, they're just giving me a paycheck, leave. It is not worth you sacrificing your sense of self, your soul, or your emotional well-being just to keep them happy. I had an extremely overdrawn bank account. I was Venmo requesting my boyfriend to help me pay for groceries.
No, but you're working so hard and I'm not able to pay anything.
That is something that I have never done in my entire life because I've always been told that you go and you get your own shit done. But this time, I walked away from a paycheck in order to protect my peace. That was my awakening. That was my redemption arc. Because for the longest time, as long as I was getting a paycheck and it was the right number, I was willing to go with the flow. And innately, that's what destroyed me. And that is what I hope people can take away from this. You, as you are listening to this, if your boss is someone that you know innately does not align with you spiritually or morally, you have to leave. Money is not worth killing your soul. And as woo-woo magical as that sounds, your soul is the only thing you have. So you have to protect that shit. This wasn't just a burnout. This was a spiritual exorcism, a complete and utter ego death. And once you experience a complete and utter ego death, you never go back to pretending. You are left with just yourself. Your sense of ego, your sense of pride, everything is gone. And you are left with the one thing that makes you you, and that's your soul. The breakdown is not the end. The breakdown is not a failure. The breakdown is your reckoning. This is your last emergency flag flying from your soul that it has given up. Your soul has tapped out. It has thrown up deuces. It is moving on without you because you're not catching up to your soul. So here's the truth. Burnout is not your fault. Burnout is not my fault. But what happens after the burnout? Yeah, that's on you. You have to figure that out, just like I did. And that's why I'm here. I am here to help you through that rebirth. It's gonna get weird, it's gonna get messy, but I promise you, what's waiting for you at the end of this is worth every single setback you've ever felt. This show is for the high-functioning humans who always need to perform. The ones who stayed silent when their soul was screaming no, but they were nodding yes in a conference room. This is for the people who have just been pushing through when they know they should stop. They keep saying, I'm fine, when they know that their soul has literally put up deuces. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be heard, remembered, and listened to. You don't need to start over. And the moment you stop auditioning for a role that you never even wanted is the moment that your real life starts. That is rebirth after burnout. And next episode, we jump into the cult of hustle. And we're not talking about the actual real cult. That's an actual thing too. No. We're talking about the cult of hustle. If you've ever said, hustle hard, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but you're probably in the cult. I'll see you next week.